You've probably heard the usual advice before. If a woman doesn't seem interested, people say you should either give up, move on, or try even harder to prove your value. But the reality is a little more uncomfortable than that. Women don't miss men simply because they need them. What they actually miss is the emotional presence certain men create. Some men leave a feeling behind that lingers even when they're not around. That's what stays in her mind. This conversation isn't about cheesy tricks, fake confidence, or memorized pickup lines. It's about understanding how attraction and curiosity really work on a psychological level. When you understand that, you can position yourself in a way that naturally sparks interest, even in a woman who didn't seem to care about you at first. It might sound unrealistic, but it isn't. Indifference usually isn't permanent. Most of the time, it's just a reaction. And reactions can change when the dynamic changes. The biggest mistake men make is believing that making a woman miss them requires more effort, more messages, and more attempts to prove their worth. In truth, those behaviors usually destroy attraction faster than anything else. Trying too hard often sends the wrong signal. Attraction rarely grows from pressure. It grows from curiosity, respect, and a sense that there's something about you she hasn't fully figured out yet. If you want someone to think about you when you're not there, the goal isn't to be constantly present. The goal is to become memorable. When a man leaves a strong emotional impression, even brief moments with him can stay in a woman's mind long after he's gone. Throughout this video, we're exploring the mindset and behaviors that create that kind of effect. By the end, you'll see that making someone miss you isn't luck or magic. It's about understanding human psychology and responding differently than most men do. One truth many men struggle to accept is this: the more aggressively you chase, the more likely she is to pull away. Chasing feels logical. When you want someone, your instinct is to show effort, attention, and dedication so she can see your value. But from a psychological perspective, that approach often flips the power dynamic. Instead of her feeling fortunate to have your attention, it begins to look like you're the one desperate for hers. And the
truth is simple. People rarely miss what they can access at any moment. When you constantly call, text, or try to impress her, you remove the possibility of curiosity. She doesn't have to wonder about you because you're always right there. Your attention becomes predictable, and predictable things rarely create excitement.
Think about it this way. If someone handed you the same meal every single day without effort, eventually you'd stop craving it. But the moment it disappears, suddenly you notice its absence. The same psychological principle applies here. Space and mystery give your presence more value. There's another layer to this as well. Excessive chasing can quietly communicate insecurity. It can make it seem like you don't believe your time, energy, or attention are valuable enough to protect. Confidence, on the other hand, often shows up as calm restraint. A man who doesn't feel the need to constantly seek validation naturally appears more grounded and self-assured. Many women are drawn to men who have their own lives, their own priorities, and a sense of independence. When your attention feels selective rather than constant, it carries more weight. That's why sometimes the most powerful move is simply stepping back and all.
Owing space. Curious. Silence can be far more impactful than endless communication. Many men believe frequent messages show care and consistency. They send good morning texts, check in throughout the day, and end the night with another message. While the intention may be positive, too much communication can quickly lose its meaning. Words that are always available begin to feel ordinary. Silence, however, creates tension. It invites curiosity. It makes a person wonder what you're doing and where your focus is. And curiosity is a powerful emotional trigger.
Attention works a lot like a form of currency. When it's constantly given away, it loses value. But when it's given selectively, it becomes more meaningful. Holding back occasionally doesn't mean ignoring someone or playing childish games. It simply means your life doesn't revolve around constant digital contact. A man who is comfortable with space demonstrates independence and self-respect. That kind of energy often makes someone lean closer instead of pulling away. Sometimes the most powerful message you send isn't a message at all. It's the quiet confidence of knowing you don't need to fill every moment with words. What usually happens next is interesting. After some time passes, she starts noticing the silence. She glances at her phone, expecting to see your name, or wonders why you suddenly disappeared from the conversation. Sometimes she'll even be the one who reaches out first. That small gap you created ends up having more impact than any long message you could have sent. Silence can say more than paragraphs ever could. Another common mistake men make is believing they need to be available every second of the day to win a woman over. You know how it goes. You cancel plans with friends just in case she calls. You respond to every text immediately. You make sure she knows that you're always ready whenever she needs attention. It may look like dedication, but in reality, it slowly works against you. When someone becomes constantly available, they also become predictable. And predictable things rarely create excitement. If she already knows you will always answer, always agree, and always drop everything for her, there's no tension, no curiosity, and no challenge. Human nature simply doesn't place high value on things that come without effort. Think about moments in your own life when you really wanted something. Maybe it was a job opportunity, a rare item you wanted to buy, or a personal goal you worked hard to reach. Part of the excitement came from the fact that it wasn't easy to get. But when something is handed to you without any effort, the feeling isn't the same. Attraction often works in a similar way. Women usually feel more drawn to men who have full lives of their own. Men who have goals, hobbies, friendships, and responsibilities that matter to them. Men who occasionally say they're busy instead of rearranging their entire world for approval. That independence signals self-respect and personal value. When your life clearly doesn't revolve around her attention, she becomes more aware of your absence when you're not there. Another point many men misunderstand is honesty during early attraction. Honesty is important in relationships, but revealing every thought, plan, and emotion right away can actually remove the spark. Many men believe sharing everything immediately builds closeness. In reality, it often removes the mystery that keeps someone curious. Attraction isn't purely logical, it's emotional, and emotions are often fueled by curiosity. When a woman doesn't fully understand you yet, her mind naturally tries to fill in the blanks. She wonders what you're thinking, what you're doing, or who you spend your time with. That curiosity keeps you in her thoughts. But when a man explains everything about himself from the very beginning, there's nothing left for her imagination to explore. The suspense disappears. Think about movies or novels you enjoy. If the entire plot were revealed in the first few minutes, the story would lose its excitement. The unknown is what keeps people interested. The same emotional principle often appears in attraction as well. Another trap many men fall into is competing for a woman's attention. They rush to comment on her photos before anyone else does. They notice other men around her and suddenly feel pressure to outperform them. They try to be louder, funnier, or more visible just to stand out. Unfortunately, this approach usually sends the wrong message. When you compete for attention, it signals that you believe her approval is something you must fight for. Strong men don't operate that way. They focus on building their own value rather than trying to outshine everyone else around her. A man who truly respects himself doesn't obsess over who else might be texting her or trying to impress her. He understands that his worth isn't determined by competition. Putting a woman on a pedestal and treating her attention like a prize to win often leads to the opposite result. It can make you appear desperate rather than confident, and desperation rarely earns respect. The truth is that attraction tends to grow around men who create their own sense of demand rather than begging for someone else's supply of attention. Confidence also plays a much bigger role than many men realize. Affection alone isn't what creates strong attraction. A man can send long messages, offer constant praise, and show endless care, but if he lacks confidence, the connection often feels weak. Confidence is what makes presence powerful. Real confidence isn't loud or arrogant, it's calm and steady. It's visible in how a man carries himself, how he speaks, and how he moves through life without constantly needing validation. You've probably seen situations where a woman was drawn to a man who wasn't necessarily the nicest or even the most attractive, but he had strong self-belief. That self-belief communicates stability and strength. Confidence is also shown through actions, not speeches. It appears when a man makes decisions without fear, expresses his opinions honestly, and refuses to tolerate disrespect. It also appears in the willingness to walk away when something isn't right. That kind of self-assurance leaves a lasting impression. There's another powerful psychological trigger many men overlook. People tend to value things more when they feel they might lose them. When a woman believes a man will always be there no matter what she does, she has little reason to chase or appreciate him. But the moment she senses that his attention might disappear, her perspective can change quickly. When your focus shifts away and your life continues moving forward, she may start asking herself questions. Is he losing interest? Is someone else getting his attention? Did I miss my chance? That uncertainty often creates a strong emotional reaction. This isn't about manipulation. It's about self-respect. You're not pretending to step back. You're simply living a full life that doesn't depend on her validation. When she realizes that your presence isn't guaranteed forever, your value often becomes clearer. The truth many men struggle to accept is that being endlessly nice without boundaries rarely makes someone miss you. What stays in a woman's mind is the man who respects himself enough to walk away rather than beg for attention. That kind of strength leaves a deeper impression than constant approval ever could. Now I'm curious about your experience. Have you ever found yourself chasing too hard, only to realize later it pushed someone away? Or maybe you stepped back and suddenly their interest returned. Share your story in the comments. I read them carefully, and sometimes I even give advice to help you handle situations like these. Here on Inside Her Heart, the goal isn't just talking at you. It's building a place where men learn to understand attraction and human psychology in a smarter, healthier way, so they gain respect instead of losing it. Before you go, remember something important. In the next video, we're going to explore a topic that surprises many men. Giving a woman your full loyalty too early can sometimes be the exact reason she starts pulling away. If you don't want to miss that conversation, subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you're the first to know when the next video from Inside Her Heart drops. I'll see you there.